Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Dan McGee. Welcome to the garage. So this video song I'm going to play is from 1970. It was written by um, Neil Young and performed by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. So Neil Young seen what happened at Kent University in Ohio, and 10 days later they recorded this song. So I wanted to play the video and kind of discuss what was going on in my life and around my friends and brothers and sisters friends in 1970 about that has to do with uh, the unrest of the country because of the war in Vietnam. So let's start the video.
Soldiers and Nixon's coming. We're finally on our own. This summer I hear the drumming. For dead in Ohio. 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 How many more? For dead in Ohio. Why? For dead in
All right. So that was Ohio by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. So in 1970, I'm 10 years old, and I remember this story. And it was, being 10, I didn't fully understand everything that was about, what everything was, all this protesting and everything was, um why it was happening. But I did know, or I did understand enough to know that um most of the young people did not want the war in Vietnam to go on any longer. And I remember thinking also that there were soldiers killing people on college campuses. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, um, I don't want to go to college because I might get killed. And I also remember thinking, I definitely don't want to go to the Vietnam War because on the news at night, they were showing all these um, soldiers coming back, either, dead or wounded. It was like unreal to think when you're that young that you're even thinking about this. And I also remember thinking to myself that, okay, I'm only 10, so they're drafting people when they're 18. So, okay, I got 8 years. I hope this war ends before I turn 18. And also in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I heard a lot of people talking about, all right, I'm not, if they draft me, I'm going up to Canada. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I know nothing about Canada, but I also know I don't want to be killed. So that sounds like a pretty good alternative. Just go to Canada. Keep in mind, I really didn't know anything about Canada. I just knew that if you went up to Canada, you wouldn't have to go to the war and possibly go into Vietnam. So some of my friends' brothers went into the army during this time, and one of them, luckily, was stationed in North South Korea in South Korea, so he didn't have to go to Vietnam. But either way, he was forced in to the army, which is horrible to begin with. But then we had other friends that went into the army too, and I'm pretty sure none of them ended up going into Vietnam. But the point is that when you went in, you didn't know where you were going to end up. You could end up stateside, you could end up in, Germany, or obviously you could end up in, South Korea. So, scary. It was really super scary being a younger person, seeing all this stuff on the news. So, if you grew up in that time, even if you were, young like me, or older, what were your thoughts during that time? Were you, gung ho and, I'm going to go join the army to, fight for our freedom? Or were you more of a pacifist and thought, I don't want nothing to do with it? Either way, there's no right or wrong. It's your belief, whatever you thought. But I liked how this ended. It ended with the peace sign. So I remember in our grade school that when we were in like a I don't know what you would call it, like for lunch, we would be all sitting in this big room, and they would have announcements. So the principal would make everybody raise the peace sign. So I the only thing I remember about that, when I was thinking about it, was peace, don't talk. and I learned later, later on when I got a little older, that that was the peace sign for, that's what, when the hippies were protesting, they would put out the peace sign. So I always, I'm born in 1960, so I'm 10 years old. So I'm pretty much, I consider myself um, I was like a young hippie, because hippies died out. I mean, not died out literally, but the whole term hippie um, kind of stopped being used. If I had to guess, in the maybe by the mid 70s, I'm just guessing. If you know, let me know, because it's interesting that it was this big term, and if you were a hippie, you were anti-war, anti-establishment, and you wanted peace. And there was also the whole free love thing. That's a bonus. So anyhow, um, what were your thoughts on that? Were you anti-hippie, pro-government? Maybe didn't understand it either way, or didn't care? Um, so I'm gonna just end it on this whole thing now with Israel and Hamas, the Palestinians, that this possibly could become a world war. It's a mess. And the United States, once again, is getting into something that could be devastating for the country. That's my thoughts. It don't have to be yours, and I understand that, the Hamas did a horrible thing to Israel, but two wrongs don't make a right. If we kill 1,500 of yours, it don't make it right if you come and kill 600, or yeah, whatever it is, 6,000 of ours. So, all right, that's my political statement for today. I try not to go political, but um, there's a lot of it brings me back to the thoughts of people getting killed, for, I don't know what it's for, you know. But anyhow, do me a favor and leave a comment. Tell me what you think about this mess, and what you thought if you were growing up in the 60s, early 70s, if you ever thought about having to, get shipped off to a war that you didn't believe in. And what do you think about, if this, turns into a world conflict, some of your kids or grandkids might get shipped over to another land, and what a mess that's going to be. All right. Cheers to you, baby. Talk to you later.